Welcome to the Best of Beaver County, presented by St. Barnabas, a weekly segment dedicated to putting the focus on the amazing things and the amazing people behind them in Beaver County. The Best of Beaver County is sponsored by and content is provided by St. Barnabas. The show airs every Thursday from 11 to 11:30 on WBVP, WMBA, 99.3 FM, and Facebook Live. Now, with no further ado, let's welcome host Mike Romai to introduce today's program.
And welcome to the Best of Beaver County on the St. Barnabas Radio Network. Merry Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa. This is Kwanzaa, right? The day after Christmas, right? Happy Hanukkah. Whatever you celebrate, happy to you this morning. This morning we are joined by a happy group. It's the Beaver County Humane Society, and just letting everybody know up front, I used to be employed by the Beaver County Humane Society and enjoyed my time there. It's a wonderful organization, and we are joined by Allison Yazer, who is the Executive Director of the Beaver County Humane Society. She has been there for 2 years now, and an animal lover, and even more so since you joined the organization, correct?
Absolutely. I fall in love with dogs all over again.
And you come from a different kind of background. Tell the audience a little bit about you.
Absolutely. I've been in nonprofits for about 25 years. I've done everything from small radio stations to research universities and everything in between.
Okay, great. Now, I don't know, what is it that draws people to nonprofits, to helping people? A couple times where I got out of this business, I ended up with the American Cancer Society or the Beaver County Humane Society. So nonprofit and doing that kind of work. What do you think it is that draws us to this?
I think there are some genuinely good people still out there, and I personally just want to make the world a little bit better, and kind of like the Boy Scouts, leave it better than you found it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 25 years, how's that worked out?
So far, so good.
Still struggle, though, huh?
Always.
Well, one step up and two steps back kind of thing when you look at what's going on. Even this holiday season where you see there's so much need in the country. And it's not only for people, for animals as well. And that's what you do so well at the Beaver County Humane Society is that I can remember there used to be times when people wanted to go on vacation, and so they'd surrender their animals because they just didn't want to, they just didn't want to bother with them anymore. And the Humane Society, you see the underbelly of the human existence a lot of times.
We do.
And as a testament to that, just before the holidays, you took in, 10 dogs?
We had
emaciated dogs?
10 emaciated dogs brought in over the course of a weekend. They were found, 3 came in as strays, then 6 more came in overnight, and then another one came in the following afternoon. We assume they're all from the same group. They all have the same appearance. They're all in the same condition. Unfortunately, one of them did have to be put to sleep. She was very, very sick. She had exposed bone, and she was septic.
Oh.
So her prognosis was not good. But
he's making noise in here. And is there? Did they belong to someone, or were they just found along the roadside?
We're busy trying to figure that out. I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but it gets harder and harder when you see how people treat their animals.
And what attracted you to the Humane Society?
The fur factor is definitely part of it. I grew up with dogs. I now have cats. They're innocent, and I feel like protecting those who are unable to protect themselves and helping them is almost more gratifying than helping people because the animals can't say thank you.
A lot of people, and the people that I worked with and you work with, it seems as though you can just sense that these are pet people.
Oh, absolutely.
There are people, and then there are pet people. And the pet people just don't seem to be as comfortable around people as they are with pets.
I always say that the more I work with animals, the less I like people.
I've heard that said many times. And when you find and you bring up some points also when you say we're looking to find these people, and when this happens on a regular basis.
Unfortunately, it does.
Yeah, I know. I remember when there were a couple of dogs left in a cardboard box in the winter times, and people just don't get it. When you're talking about the difference between cats and dogs, you were a dog person, now you're a cat person. What's the difference between the two, and how you take care of them?
I think dogs need more attention. Cats can be more independent. They aren't necessarily, but they can be. But either of cats or dogs can be super loyal, super friendly. I don't want to have to rush home after work to let an animal out.
When you leave the house with the cats, you just put a bowl of food down.
Fend for yourselves for a day or two.
And they're good. With the dogs, you got to let them out. You got to feed them. They want water. They want attention, and all of that stuff. Who do you have with you today?
This is Chester.
Okay.
He is a stray that came to us earlier this month.
You can bring him out if you'd like. I don't know how comfortable you are with that.
Everybody.
He's a stray.
He was brought in as a stray.
Okay.
Our vet thinks he's about 10 years old. Don't rub against the microphone.
Yeah, that's okay. It just makes noise in the microphone. You can hear it purr, maybe. Okay. About 10 years old.
Yep.
And you're taking care of him over the holidays?
All the animals.
All the animals.
We have a core group of staff who volunteered to come in and work, and many volunteers who helped us over the past 2 days.
Okay. And do you find yourself being a foster as well?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
It's part of the job.
I failed twice.
Not a written part of the job, but
no.
you just...
And other duties as assigned.
Yeah, okay. And so with this 10-year-old, there are people that like senior pets.
Yes.
And there's a great need for people to adopt senior pets.
Yes, and we do have a senior-to-senior program, which is where we match up senior pets with senior citizens, and the adoption fees are waived.
Okay. All right, very good. So Chester would be, a prime example of that.
Absolutely, he would.
Now, and for senior animals, as they age, I mean, everybody wants a puppy, everybody wants a kitten, because they're so much fun. Yeah, they don't realize that.
Bye.
I was hoping that, that's okay. I was hoping that, and I know you always do, when you tell people, you know what, if you want to open a present for Christmas, don't put a puppy in the box.
We always say pets are not presents.
Yeah.
They're a lifetime commitment.
Okay. Yeah, and that's for cats as well?
Absolutely. Cats can live decades.
How full is the shelter right now?
We have a lot of dogs. Thankfully, the kitten season is over, so we've gotten a lot of cats into permanent homes.
See, now I never thought the kitten season was ever over.
It tends to go seasonally, from the time the weather breaks in the spring until it gets super cold.
So you do have cats, but you also have dogs.
Correct.
What are some of the changes? Because with the Humane Society, and you talked about the strays that you just took in, and I know that there's this common misperception about the Humane Society in terms of, I've heard people say, no, I'm not going to surrender my dog to the Humane Society because they're going to put it down. Or I'm going to do this because they're going to put it down. And no matter how many times you say it and how much you can show them that that's not the case, they still believe that.
So people use the term a no-kill shelter. We prefer not to, because then the others are kill shelters and they might not have a choice. We will never euthanize an animal to make space for another one. So as long as an animal is healthy enough to be adopted out and behaviorally safe to be adopted out, we will keep them until they find their forever home.
And it's just like you said about the one dog that had sepsis and all this stuff, that it was just beyond trying to save.
She would have had an incredibly long recovery, and again, the prognosis was not good. And it was more humane to euthanize her.
Yeah. And sometimes the animals are just get to the point where they're too old and are not going to be able to continue.
Yes, it's often from neglect or starvation, but sometimes people just don't get vet care for their animals, and they don't do well.
Yeah. When talk about the veterinary care that you have at the Humane Society.
Absolutely. We have a full-time vet and 2 contract vets who come in and perform services. They'll do routine medical for our residents. And we also do low-cost spay and neuter clinics for cats, for owned animals, and dentals.
Do you still do that on Mondays?
We do that Mondays, Fridays, and we usually have sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays as well.
So there's that big of a demand
Yes.
for it. I know that Mondays used to be the day, and you could walk in and the place was just full of carriers like this.
Yep.
People would drop them off in the morning and pick them up in the afternoon.
Exactly.
They still do that?
We do that. Fridays are high volume spay and neuter. And then we also offer vaccine clinics for cats and dogs.
Oh, okay.
And those are low cost as well.
And are people aware of that?
I hope so. We advertise it quite a bit, but getting the word out is always helpful.
Yeah. What, Allison, are you proudest of at this point after being there for 2 years? Because you hit the ground running and learning about the process because you'd never worked in animal husbandry before.
Correct. There's a lot I didn't know. And now I know that I didn't know. You think as a pet owner that you know pets, and animal husbandry and animal welfare is a totally different creature.
Yeah. And as far as the staff surrounding you, how important are they?
They're critical. The kennel team in particular does the most important work. They're the ones dealing with the animals every day.
Every day.
Yep.
Even on holidays.
Even on holidays.
Yeah. Somebody has to be there. Somebody has to feed them. Volunteers, the dog walkers, the cat cuddlers.
Exactly.
Those kind of people. Even on Christmas Day, they had
Christmas
to be there.
Eve. Yep.
And you were out there too.
I was. I volunteered to be there Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
And as far as, I know you have some long-term volunteers that have been there for years and years.
We do. Our loyal volunteers are critical to us accomplishing everything that we do.
Yeah. And that includes going out in the mornings, in the cold, when it's raining, when it's burning hot, and in the afternoons when they do that as well.
We try to get every dog out 4 times a day, whether that's for a walk or time in the yards or a play group. It's really important to keep them mentally stimulated and physically active.
Yeah, because we've always heard that a tired dog is a good dog.
Exactly.
Because if it's got too much energy, then it's going to drive you crazy. But you have the exercise yards, and they're fenced in and well taken care of.
We have 4 yards in the back of the shelter, and now we have a fenced-in yard across the street at the annex as well.
Yeah, talk about that, because it didn't exist when I was there a few years ago, but you bought a building across the street on Broadhead Road.
I did. When I interviewed, I asked the entire staff what the biggest challenge they faced was, and every single person said space. So we looked into expanding on our property, and at that point, building costs were astronomical. So I bought a building instead. So we moved some offices over there, and we have a training center that we are opening up starting in January, and we're really excited about that.
So it's more or less a full-service shelter that you're taking care of the needs of the animals mentally and physically.
Yes, and we're offering outside lessons and classes in an effort to keep animals in their home.
Okay.
Oftentimes people surrender their pets because they have behavioral issues or they're just not trained, and we want to be there to help stop that.
Yeah. Allison Yazer is our guest. She is the executive director of the Beaver County Humane Society. We're talking about the animals and what they need and how they need you and what you can do to help the Beaver County Humane Society. And we'll continue on the Best of Beaver County on the St. Barnabas Radio Network.
Oh my goodness, Amy, it's so good to see you.
Jennifer, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Is your mom doing any better?
Thank you for asking. I don't know if I can answer without being emotional. I'm sorry. I'm just tired and worried. I can't always be there for her, and it's so stressful.
I really understand. That's how I was with my dad. I'd recommend calling St. Barnabas. We did. We started with just having them come in for home care. He was so excited to see them show up. And when he needed more, we were able to move him in at Beaver Meadows, where he still has his own home-like space and excellent care.
Thanks for telling me that. I don't even know how to start, but I have to do something.
Oh, you can just give St. Barnabas a call. They have directors that can explain how it all works. Trust me, you'll feel so much better, and so will your mom.
I'm so glad I ran into you.
Visit stbarnabashealthsystem.com or call 724-443-0700 for care apart from the ordinary.
It's the best of Beaver County on the St. Barnabas Radio Network. Our guest today is Allison Yeaser. She is the executive director of the Beaver County Humane Society. We're talking about all the great things they do at the shelter and continue to grow. It started as a small building over near the Beaver Valley Mall, just a little building. They outgrew that several years ago into the new facility. I call it the new facility, but it's been there for what, about 15 years now?
I think we're going on 11.
11, okay, on Broadhead Road, and they're expanding even more, which tells you a little more about the need to take care of animals because there are a lot of them out there, and people aren't always the best in taking care of their animals. Many are abused, and you only hear perhaps those stories when they hit the newspapers and the news media pays attention to it. But there are a lot of others that need some kind of caring, whether it's fostering. And let's move into the fostering program because those foster families are very important to what you do.
Absolutely. Getting animals out of the kennels makes them more adoptable, even if it's just for one overnight. It helps them calm down. It really lets their personality shine through, and we know them better. It's better for the people.
Sure.
I refer to it as an animal library. Because you can take an animal home.
Yeah.
And then if you are going on vacation or going away, you can bring it back.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
There are what's known as foster failures, correct?
I know nothing.
You know nothing about that? The people who foster animals, and it's just supposed to be for a temporary time until the shelter can find somebody who wants to buy them, to own them, adopt them. And but oftentimes those people who are the fosters, they just get so connected to the animal, they don't want to give them back up again.
You might consider it a foster failure. We consider those foster successes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. And not only that, when someone fosters an animal, they contact the shelter and say, "Want to foster a cat or a dog, or a bird or a rabbit?" You got them all there, right?
And 2 chinchillas.
2 chinchillas now. No reptiles, though. Right?
Not right now. No. We did have a snake not too long ago.
But when they say, I want to become a foster parent for one of these animals, what is the criteria? What do they have to do?
They have to have space in their home, and the cat's about to bolt out the door.
Oh.
They need space in their home and space in their hearts.
Okay. Yeah, and Chester was going to escape there. I didn't know the door was open behind us. But you also provide for them to help them in this process.
Absolutely. We'll get them started off with food, a litter box, dishes.
Yeah.
Pretty much anything they need.
Mm-hmm. And can you foster dogs too?
You absolutely can. If you don't have a dog, you can foster any dog. If you do have a dog, we just require a meet and greet the same way we would with an adoption.
What do you find, Allison, to be the most pressing problem that a shelter such as the Beaver County Humane Shelter Society has?
Finances.
Mm-hmm.
Inevitably.
Yeah.
There's always more demand than we can serve.
Mm-hmm. And so that's why the donations are so critical.
Absolutely.
During COVID, I remember that there were a lot of places that were donating cleaning supplies especially.
Yes.
But food on a regular basis.
Yes. We just had the story about the 10 dogs that were brought in, and we received tons and tons of food donations, which is great. There's always food, litter, Timothy hay for the rabbits, everything.
I remember I didn't know what Timothy hay was before I started there. Somebody said something about Timothy hay, and I said,
why is it named?
Yeah, what is Timothy hay? But there's a lot that you can learn there.
Absolutely. I've never met a chinchilla until I started working there.
And as far as those donations are concerned, they come in a variety of forms, don't they? Because the public does respond when you put out a need, whether it's paper towels or what else do you use a lot of, laundry detergent.
Absolutely. We do
bleach.
Our industrial strength washer and dryer run for about 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah. And so that's very necessary.
Absolutely. There was one day that our water pipes were shut down and we weren't aware that it was happening, we put out a call for water, and people were delivering gallons upon gallons of water to get us through the day.
Yeah, I remember we had a water main break there at one point, and water was. It was wintertime, and the pipes burst, and
that might have happened again just a few weeks ago.
Oh, is that right?
It did.
That's terrible. And it just for nobody knows until it happens.
Exactly.
Right, that those pipes are exposed to the elements. And that happens. But when you put it out, whether you put it out on your Facebook posts or other places, and you could call the radio station. Of course, we have a program here on a weekly basis about helping the Humane Society. People will send stuff.
Absolutely. The community is incredibly supportive of us and the work that we do.
What is it that you think people don't understand about?
I don't think they understand that there are a couple things. We don't get any funding from a national organization. The Humane Society of the U.S. does not support us. We are an independent nonprofit. We get very minimal funding from the government. The county's as generous as they can be, but there's a lot of demand on them as well. We have a staff of about 50. It takes a village to keep all of these animals well kept.
It's a stressful job, too. I've
is.
watched those people in the back.
Yes. I was working hand in hand with them yesterday and the day before, and it's eye-opening.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're getting up in the morning, and they're taking care, they're making sure the animals get something to eat.
Yep.
In the evening, same thing, throughout the day.
They get fed, they get cuddled, they get walked, they get played with.
As far as those kind of people, the cat cuddlers, there you go.
I'm going to try to be a cat cuddler now.
Yeah. Does Chester like to be held?
He doesn't seem to mind.
Oh, okay.
I met him for the first time this morning.
Oh, okay. We'll see that. And as far as cat cuddlers are concerned, people don't know about that. If you like cats, if you can let them walk up there. If you like cats, is it something that you'd want to do? If you don't want to own one, you can come in and help by socializing them a little bit.
Absolutely. If you can't foster or you can't take them home, socializing and interacting with them. A lot of times when we get strays in, they're not as friendly as Chester is, and they need to interact with people and realize that people are good and won't hurt them.
Yeah. And the strays, that presents a problem, doesn't it? When
It does.
Strays come in.
We're working very hard with various people within the county to take advantage of the high volume spay and neuter and try to break the colony cycle.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because the spay and neuter program is vitally important to this line of work. People, for one reason or another, don't want to do that. I can't understand it. But talk about spay and neuter programs for cats, especially because they do yearly, year-round, have a tendency to multiply.
Yes. The gestation period for cats is very short. So in one cat season, a female cat can have multiple litters.
Okay, yeah. And they're out and people feed them?
People feed them, and some townships' solution is stop feeding them, and that's not the answer.
Yeah.
The answer is get them spayed or neutered, and they stop reproducing, and eventually the colony will deplete itself.
Yeah, and farms in the outlying areas,
Yep.
they seem to have drop-offs there quite a bit.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They think they're doing the right thing by bringing them somewhere where they're going to be taken care of.
Yeah, right.
But we always return. The TNR program is trap, neuter, and return because cats like to stay where they're familiar.
Yeah, and that's another thing that people say, well, I don't want them to come back in the community, but that's where they're comfortable.
Their home. Exactly.
But they're not going to reproduce. Is the
Correct.
important thing. You're not going to have to
Exactly.
deal with that because they come up, and have their litters, and then they don't know what to do with all those animals. If you
Right.
got 6 to 9, kittens running around the neighborhood, that's just presenting another problem.
Absolutely. And so a lot of times the babies will show up and people bring them to us.
Yeah.
But it's always better to keep them with their mom. If they weigh under 2 pounds, they can't stay at the shelter because it's not healthy. They can't be vaccinated. So we immediately have to find fosters. If they're too young, they need to be bottle fed every 2 hours.
Yeah.
Bottle babies are a lot of work.
And that's what the foster parents do. That's
We
really
have some
tough one.
fosters who only do
Yeah.
bottle babies, which God love them because I
Yeah.
could never do it.
Now, under 2 pounds, though, you can't have them in the shelter.
Correct.
Talk about whenever you spay and neuter, but it's also vitally important, especially with the local police and people like that, if you have them chipped.
Yes. The best way to prevent your animal becoming a stray is chipping it. As soon as any stray animal is brought in, the very first thing we do is check for a chip and keeping that information up to date. So even if you adopt from us and your animal's chipped and you don't register the chip to you, they'll contact us and we'll find you and reunite you.
A lot of the local police departments, they have the process of bonding where they can do that as well.
Yep, they've got the scanners as well. A lot of them.
Funny, one day my dog got out of the fence and we went out looking for it. It's chipped. Because we adopted it from the Humane Society, so it's chipped. And it was running around, and my wife went to the police department and called the police department and said, our dog is out there. We're looking for it now, but it got out of our fenced yard, and the police officer said, oh, yeah, we have him. Are you up on the avenue that we live on? Yeah. Well, he's just sitting right here. He's happy. Yeah. So she was just sitting at the police department. The policeman was holding on to it and, in the local community, and got it back right away.
She went on an adventure.
She did, definitely. And so did we that night, driving around in the dark. What is something you want people to know about the Humane Society? How can they give? How can they help the effort?
We have Chewy and Amazon wish lists. If you want to purchase things that are shipped directly to us, you can give on our website. And I want people to know that we are here as a resource for the community. We're not just here for the animals. We're here to help people keep their animals healthy and happy.
Yeah, and we're kind of. I know there are a variety of dogs out there, but people, you have a lot of pit mixes in the shelter because of the area that we live in. They can go online and see who's adoptable.
Any animal that is adoptable is viewable online.
Okay. Oops.
Excuse me.
Well, I think she likes your jewelry. But okay, so you go online. I don't want to leave without talking about the thrift store in Beaver Falls, because the thrift store is a major fundraiser for the Beaver County Humane Society.
It is. They have everything. If you need it, they have it.
They do, certainly, and they get it from people in the community.
Absolutely. Clothing donations, apartment cleanouts, with
furniture. Nice looking furniture. I drive past there quite often, and I see they put stuff out on the sidewalk. Nice looking couches that were just there not long ago.
Absolutely.
They had a 50% off sale on Christmas items.
They do, and they also do once a month. They'll do a 50% off Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a wonderful place. If you're a thrifter, you can go around and spend a couple of hours in there looking at all the different unique things that you have.
And if you haven't been in a while, there is a new manager, and he has really changed things up for the better.
Right, and bringing stuff up from the basement.
There's nothing in the basement now.
Nothing? I can't believe that.
It's all moved upstairs.
Really? Oh, it's all up on the... Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, we're turning merchandise over much more frequently.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. And you have the volunteers there as well that, again, is just necessary part of it, because they help go through the clothing, bring up the clothing, and all aspects of it. Allison, people can go online to your website.
To our website, they can sign up to volunteer, they can sign up to foster, or they can donate there.
And you have to be 16.
You have to be 16 to volunteer without a parent, 10 to volunteer with a parent or guardian.
Okay, great. It's great to hear about and keep up with the Beaver County Humane Society. Continued success and all the good work you do here.
Thank you, and thank you for having us.
It's wonderful. It's my pleasure. This is the Best of Beaver County on the St. Barnabas Radio Network.
Thank you for listening to the Best of Beaver County. St. Barnabas is pleased to have provided content and sponsorship for the program. Tune in this Sunday at 11:30 for an encore presentation of today's program on Beaver County Radio. And next Thursday at 11 for another edition of the Best of Beaver County on WBVP, WMBA, and 99.3 FM.
County Radio's news source. 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. Here's Noah Haswell.
Good morning here on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP. On this Thursday, December 26th of 2024, it'll be partly sunny skies today with a high near 45. We will have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. A man from Aliquippa was jailed after a crash that occurred in Hopewell Township on Monday when he was driving under the influence. According to a Facebook post from the City of Aliquippa Police Department, police were dispatched to a motor vehicle crash on Kennedy Boulevard at Sheffield Road. A 2017 dark blue Lincoln sedan could not be driven after its damage was found following the crash discovered by a Hopewell Township police officer. The driver was 49-year-old Eric Mason of Aliquippa, who stated to officers that he had been drinking. Mason smelled like alcohol, his speech was slurred, and his eyes were both glassy and bloodshot. After refusing both a breath test and sobriety test, Mason was taken to the Beaver County Jail and was charged with both driving under the influence and reckless driving. Gas prices are 5 cents lower this week in western Pennsylvania at around $3.38 per gallon. That's according to AAA East Central's gas price report. The report states that last week in western Pennsylvania had a price of about $3.42 a gallon, and about $3.44 a gallon this week a year ago. The report also notes that the average price that you can expect for a gallon of unleaded gas here in Beaver County is about $3.44. The man accused of fatally shooting the CEO of United Healthcare pleaded not guilty on Monday to murder and terror charges in a state case that will run parallel to his federal prosecution. The Manhattan District Attorney formally charged Luigi Mangione last week with multiple counts of murder, including murder as an act of terrorism. Mangione's attorney complained during a brief hearing Monday that statements coming from New York's mayor would make it tough for him to receive a fair trial. President Joe Biden signed a bill on Monday to give more automated external defibrillators to schools and to access more training for people to learn CPR. This act is called the Cardiomyopathy Health Education Awareness and Research and AED Training in the Schools Act of 2024, or HARTS for short. Damar Hamlin, an NFL football player and Pittsburgh area native, was one of the people that supported this action. Hamlin needed an automated external defibrillator to handle the cardiac arrest he suffered during a 2023 NFL football game. Last week, the Pennsylvania Electoral College made their unanimous vote for Donald Trump for president and J.D. Vance for vice president of the United States. Here is Secretary of the Commonwealth Al Schmidt with a statement from Governor Josh Shapiro.
For nearly 2.5 centuries, the people of Pennsylvania have gone to the ballot box and made their voices heard, voices that you reflect as you cast your ballot today. This year, millions of Pennsylvanians went to the polls, and we once again held a free, fair, safe, and secure election here in the Commonwealth. That was possible because of local election officials, Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike, because they did the hard work of running this election. Just a few moments ago, you cast your ballots for President-elect Donald Trump and Vice President-elect J.D.